Hello and welcome to the Aaryaman show. I am your host Aaryaman, and this is match reviews. Uh, we're live right after the second test match of India and New Zealand. It's been a very historic test match. There's a lot to speak about it, how things went, what problems does the Indian team have, how can we solve it, and how does the Indian team move forward for the third test, and then the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which starts up in November. A lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. So let's get straight into it. All right, today was a very historic day. I have to say, for the Kiwis, it was a very joyous day. Uh, and truly a very joyous, historic day. After all, they've just won a test series in India after so many years. Listen to this. India have lost a test series at home after 12 years. Now, try to take that in and understand the dominance that this team has shown for the past 12 years. So, it is a huge occasion for them, but it is a very unfortunate one for the Indian team and for the Indian fans. And clearly, there couldn't be a worse timing for this to happen, considering they go to Australia in less than 2 months now, and they have to play 5 test matches. And now with India um, having to win 5 test matches out of the next 6 they play, one against New Zealand and 5 against Australia. They will have to do that if they want to ensure their WTC final qualification. So now India have put themselves up in a pickle, and in this episode we will be very well talking why. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are the problems? In my opinion, problem number one is the inconsistent performances that we've seen from the top order batsmen. I think the only somewhat consistent performer is Yashasvi Jaiswal. You know, he is seen contributing in every innings in some way or other. He might not always reach that 50-run mark or cross the 50-run mark. It's not necessary for every person or for a player to cross that 50-run mark every time. He would, for example, he would, let's say, score 70 or 80 runs in the first innings, then come back. Second innings, he scores 30, 35, gets out. No big deal. He's contributed at least 35 runs. 35 runs, it may not sound much, but at the end of the day, it does add up and it is a useful contribution. And we've seen that he has given these nevertheless small contributions, but he's contributed in every single innings, in every single game, and that is what makes him one of the most consistent players Indian cricket team right now. We look at Rohit Sharma, we look at Virat Kohli, we look at Rishabh Pant. They're not consistent. I'm not saying that they're bad players. Obviously, they're not bad players. That would be absolutely stupid of me to say that they are bad players. But listen to this, they are not consistent, and that is hurting India. They have given us good innings. They've played those had those big scores as well, played those big innings. But on days like this, like today, where it actually mattered, or this test series in general, let's, for example, take this test match. What has Virat Kohli contributed in this entire test match? Almost nothing. The first innings, he gets clean bowled off a full toss. A very bizarre and very uh, unexpected dismissal by even Virat Kohli's standards. And I'm sure he'll be thinking about it and he'll be pissed off by it. But again, that duck in the first innings, and now this dismissal in the second innings. for around 15 to 20 runs. So again, you see no real contribution coming from him. Pick up Rohit Sharma as well. Um, no real contribution for him as well in this entire match. On top of that, he's the captain. He made a few bad captaincy calls. Now, a captain has to make calls. Of course, he will make some bad calls. That's part of the game. All right, you cannot expect a captain to always make the right calls. He will make some bad calls. He will make some mistakes. That's fair. That's not an issue. But in spite of having made some mistake in your captaincy, as people claim, right, for a moment, let's assume that he's not made any mistake, right, keeping aside the mistakes that he might have made, captain wise, he's not contributed anything here with his batting. He got bowled, in the first innings really cheaply by Saudi for a duck, and now today, um, well, technically yesterday, he gets out for after scoring just 8 runs, and then puts the pressure literally on Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shubman Gill. So like I said, Rishabh Pant, Kohli, and Sharma, they've been inconsistent in the first Test match. In now, they've been inconsistent since the Bangladesh Test series. You know, they have had those one good innings. Rishabh Pant has had a couple of good innings. He scored a century in the Bangladesh Test match. He scored 99 in the last Test match where India needed to cover up that 350 to 400 run trail that they had. And he played really well. He has had those good innings. But like I said, the problem is that they're not consistent enough. Apart from Jaiswal, apart from Rohit Sharma, apart from Virat Kohli, apart from Rishabh Pant, we do not have a fixed middle order as well. Sometimes it's Shubman Gill who comes in at number 3. Sometimes it's KL Rahul who either comes in at number 3 or who comes in at number 5 or number 6. In this test series, we also had Sarfraz Khan who came in at number 5. So we do not have two clear positions ready. Which brings me to my second point, faulty selection. And now I'll tell you how these faulty selections adding up with the inconsistent performances by the senior players of this team brings pressure on the entire squad and results in collapses like today, like in the first test match, in the first innings of this test match as well. So let's see. You bring in KL Rahul for the first test match. And he does not perform. But he's had a pretty decent Bangladesh test series. He's posted a few scores here and there. And he played aggressive cricket. He played a few good shots. He looked like a man in form. Right? You bring him in. But then you play him down the order. For whatever reason, the captain thought wise or the coach thought wise, they play him on number 5 or number 6. Meanwhile, Kohli is suddenly playing at number 3. Now again, that does not make sense because Kohli traditionally plays at number 4, which means that there should have been a number 3, which means KL Rahul could have been playing at number 3. But that does not happen. So you see how changing players. All right, let's forget that. All right, KL Rahul in the first match does not perform well. He's changed. Who comes in now? Comes in Shubman Gill, and now Shubman Gill is playing on number 3. All right, and we saw a few changes being made in today's game. One was, of course, Shubman Gill coming in for KR Rahul. One was Washington Sundar coming in for Kuldeep Yadav. And the other was Akashdeep coming in for Mohammad Siraj. Now, Akashdeep replacing Siraj kind of made sense. Siraj did not look at his best in the last test match, and this was going to be a spinning track, so it really did not matter much. It was not going to matter much who your premium fast bowlers are going to be, who your top two are going to be, because even then you did not see Jasprit Bumrah or Akashdeep bowling a lot and picking a lot of wickets, because at the end of the day it was the spinners who had the primary job of picking up the wickets. Uh, the move bringing in Washington so the worked wonders. The team absolutely worked wonders. He performed really well, more than what anyone expected. Um, the move bringing in Shubman Gill, questionable, not because Shubman Gill is a bad batsman, but because the way Shubman contributed in this test match is kind of similar of how KL Rahul contributed in the last match. But okay, fair enough. They thought maybe a change would be good. Maybe Shubman Gill would be able to do something. He did not. No worries. Happens. We get it. But then there are a few misses that the selection committee has. Is number one, they have Akshar Patel on the bench for some reason. He's playing so well. He's played so well in the T20 World Cup. He almost grabbed us the World Cup. Throughout that tournament, he bowled really well. He's batted well, and no disrespect to Ravindra Jadeja whatsoever. He was a great player. He is still a great player. But when you have a player of the stature of Akshar Patel, who seems to be in somewhat of a much better form than Jadeja batting wise, it should have made sense that the coach and the management and the selection committee replaces Jadeja with Akshar Patel. Because at the end of the day, the reason you bought in Washington Sundar is not because Kuldeep Yadav was not bowling well. It was because you wanted to bring in depth to the batting. And if you actually wanted to bring in depth to the batting, you could have very easily brought in Akshar Patel. Maybe you could have replaced Mohammad Siraj with Akshar Patel. You could have had just one seamer, because at the end of the day, it was spinners who, even bowled with the new ball. So how did it matter keeping a second fast bowler? They could have brought in Akshar Patel. He could have scored a few runs, and he could have obviously taken a couple of wickets. Not that he needed to. Washington Sundar and Ashwin pretty much did the job for India, and Jadeja as well contributed with his bowling in the second innings. But if you really needed to add that depth, maybe you could have replaced Jadeja with Akshar, or as I said, they could have replaced Siraj with Akshar Patel. So not only do they have another spinning option, they also have a new batting option created that goes down to the 10th player, 11th being Bumrah. And I think one of the biggest fault that the selection committee has made um, has to be ignoring Cheteshwar Pujara. Now I agree. When he was dropped, it was justified. He was not batting well. His average was very low, and he was not performing. And there were better batsmen competing for his position. 100% agreed, which is why his dropping him from the test match, from the test team, was justified. And everyone agreed at that point. It was like, okay, fair enough. But that does not mean that you do not ever bring him back in. That does not mean you leave him to be somewhere, you know, just let him be on his own. No, you monitor how he's been playing. I'll tell you. I've brought my stats today as well. So let's talk about Cheteshwar Pujara. I'll tell you how he's played in the last 10 matches, 10 test matches that he's played, right? First class cricket, all right. He's played for Saurashtra, he's played for Sussex in the English county, all right. These are his scores in the last 10 games that he's played. First class cricket: 108, 2 and 46, 38, 86 and 44, 113, 41 and 3, 14 and 33, 129, 16 and 0, 234. Now, there have been some innings where obviously there have been some games where he's not played well. Or, but if we literally just count them, it's just three games that in which he has performed, not performed in both of the innings. Otherwise, he has performed in some way or the other in at least one innings. And again, the reason why I believe Cheteshwar Pujara would be a fit in this Indian cricket team is because we absolutely need a player like him. Other than Cheteshwar Pujara, I have not seen a single Indian player who's just ready to hang in there, face the ball as they come, take the singles, take the doubles, enjoy the time at the crease, um, and just tire and exhaust the bowlers. We've seen him do that for so long. Now that we can see him sort of come back into form, it makes me want to question why is he not in this series? Why was he not called in for the test series against Bangladesh? And with the Border Gavaskar trophy, this was the optimum time to bring him in, to test him out. If he does not work, if he does not play well in the series again, drop him by all means. You have that right, but at least bring him in, at least play him at that number three position where he's been playing for India for so long, where he's done so much, and he can still do a lot more. Of course, a lot. Some people will say you're just reminiscing old memories and you're just trying to bring back players who do not, who will not perform. But I say to them, just look at the figures. There is a reason I call out Cheteshwar Pujara's name and not Ajinkya Rahane's name. He's a great player. He's been an absolute legend for this team, but he's not at that level anymore. He plays well in domestic cricket, but again, he's a bit inconsistent. He's just not at the level what the Indian cricket team demands. And I feel Cheteshwar Pujara is. That is why I feel that the Indian team needs him now more than ever. And that the selectors, may God give them wisdom, bring him in as soon as possible and try to control whatever damage that has happened. Now, moving on to the reason why there are so many collapses happening in these last couple of games. In the last couple of games, we've seen three collapses happen in the minimum. In the minimum, right? So let's see why. Like I said, there's inconsistent performances from the top order batsmen. The top order batsmen, namely Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant, they're not performing. There is unsurety of who's playing in a couple of positions. And even if one of those players someday has a bad day, right, he does not perform, you already have three senior players who are not performing. On top of that, you've brought someone in for, let's say, a number three position or a number five position, and he's not performed. So What happens then? All that pressure then goes down to the number 6, number 7, and number 8, who in this case is Sundar, Jadeja, Ashwin. And honestly, I think it's not fair on them, to be put under such duress and to be put under such pressure when the rest of the team have done nothing. I feel it is very unfair for the pressure to be just taken and put on them. Even today, we saw the top four or top five being dismissed quite early, and then you had Washington Sundar and Sarfaraz Khan out there still having to chase 200. Now, of course, when you're playing for the national team, obviously there are going to be some expectations of you. You have a job to do, you have responsibility on you. But to always put that pressure onto a player like Sarfaraz Khan, who's very new into this squad, right? You should, I'm not saying do not expect anything of him. Expect that's the way he's going to improve and become a better player. But at the end of the day, when none of your top order batsmen are playing well, I think it's unfair that you take all that pressure and put it on the lower order batsmen, or the lower middle order batsmen. I mean, they're not pure batsmen, are they? They are all rounders. Washington Sundar, he bats really well. Jadeja, he bats really well. Ashwin also bats really well. But you cannot expect them to play the same way as a Rohit Sharma does, as a Virat Kohli does, as a Rishabh Pant does, as a Shubman Gill does. You cannot expect that of them. So I think that pressure from the top order batsmen seeps down. We saw that in the last match. Last match, it was KL Rahul who was in the lower order, who was falling in the lower middle order batting lineup. It was KL Rahul and then Jadeja and Ashwin and then Siraj and Bumrah. Right? We saw it. The last. Let me take you back to the last test match. After Sarfraz was dismissed, after Rishabh Pant was dismissed, India could have easily um, scored a few more runs. But then you sense that two sudden dismissals has put all the pressure on these three batsmen. And now, when you have so much pressure on you, there is really only two possible outcomes. One is you handle the pressure, you get through that situation, you get to a better situation, or you crack. And unfortunately for us, that is the second one is the case. Every time the lower middle order batsmen have been put under pressure, they have cracked in this series. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, we are having collapses after collapses in this series. Now, what can we do to solve them? You might ask. I have an answer for that as well. The biggest solution or the biggest thing anyone can do in this very situation is that Rohit, Virat, and Pant, and even Gill to some extent, they look at themselves in the mirror and they introspect. Like I said, neither Virat nor Rohit nor Pant, they have not been consistent since the Bangladesh Test series. Rohit Sharma has not performed at all to some extent, other than the half century in the last Test match. For Virat, other than that 70 in the last Test match, there's been no real contributions from them. Again, from Virat, it was one innings in Bangladesh that he played where he scored 47. But then again, the rest three innings that he played, nothing. So they will need to look in the mirror, they will need to introspect, and they will need to improve right now, because they do not have time. Because if they do not do something right now, and India unfortunately loses the third test match, it's all going downhill from there. Because then, not only have you already lost a test series, you've already lowered your chances of qualifying for the WTC final, but then now you're moving on to such a massive test series at an all time low. I mean, of course, the dramatic in me, or the movie buff in me, uh, says that once you hit rock bottom, there's no going down. But there is. You can stay at that rock bottom for much longer. India need not stay at the rock bottom. So these top order batsmen, these senior batsmen, they need to figure stuff out as soon as possible. Otherwise, these collapses will continue to happen. As for the lower order batsmen, they will need to get used to soaking pressure up. Be it KL Rahul, be it Sarfaraz Khan, be it Jadeja or Ashwin, they will need to start soaking pressure up. I'm not saying that they cannot handle pressure. Jadeja is one of the best batsmen in pressure situations. We saw that in the 2019 World Cup semi final, where the entire top order batsman had been dismissed for a meager score. It was Jadeja who stuck with MSD and brought India back into the game, irrespective of what the result of the game was. He soaked up the pressure and he used that. Ashwin knows how to do that. He's done that. He has had multiple test cricket centuries. So they do know that. And they just need to improve on that factor, is what I believe. It is that factor that is the only obstacle, I think, in front of having a better um, performance from the middle and lower middle order batsmen. They will need to soak up the pressure in such situations, and keep their calm, and, like I say, hang in there. This is a test cricket match. You will need to stay in there. You will need to take those ones and twos. You will need to exhaust the bowlers. And I think the second solution, um, which is a much easier solution to implement um, right now at this point, is to fix up your squad. Like I said, the Indian uh, selection committee and the management, they should first of all bring back Cheteshwar Pujara. I feel that is the need of the hour. And if not Cheteshwar Pujara, at least fix your batting lineup. Who is going to be your fixed number 3 batsman? Who's going to be your fixed number 5 batsman or fixed number 6 batsman? Do that and stick to it. Absolutely stick to it. That is one way. Because if you keep changing players, if you keep switching between Shubman Gill and KL Rahul, or KL Rahul and Sarfaraz Khan, and Sarfaraz Khan and Shubman Gill, or some other player tomorrow, these things will keep on happening. Because if a player does not play at one position for longer than one game or two games, he's not going to be consistent for you. You cannot bring him in randomly for an odd match and then expect him to perform, give his best performance in that match, and then sit on the bench for the next match. You cannot absolutely expect them to do that. You will need to have a fixed batting order. And considering we're almost there, if we qualify, we're almost on the verge of the WTC final. India need to have a fixed batting lineup, which they do not. We had a fixed batting lineup for the 2023 World Cup. We had a fixed batting lineup for the T20 World Cup as well. And to a certain extent, obviously, with the variations in pitch or conditions, you have small variations here and there. But India, um, if I look at it broadly, had a very fixed batting lineup, had a very fixed team. India need to do that right now. Gautam Gambhir needs to work on that ASAP, and he needs to do it right now. Otherwise, there might be bigger trouble coming in for Team India. And while we can excuse one series loss in 12 years, we can say, okay, it happens, it's fine, but at least learn from this loss. Do not let this go in vain. Learn from it. Go into the Border Gavaskar Trophy with some learning that you've gained from this series, and hopefully do some magic. I won't obviously talk about the Border Gavaskar Trophy right now. Uh, I'll do that later, maybe in another video. Uh, but yeah, that's what I think is the real reason why India are in this situation right now. What problems India have and what solutions they can implement right now to solve those problems. Uh, that's pretty much it from me for today. Um, as you can see, not the best day for me as an Indian cricket fan, but hey, I've got to do my job as well. So uh, that was me for today. I hope you liked the video. If you do have any feedback, do leave it on any of the links I drop in the description. Do comment what you think of my video. If you have any suggestions for me, if you have any more solutions to how we can fix the problem or how the team India can fix the problem, to leave them in the comment section as well. Who knows, maybe this uh, video reaches Gautam Gambhir, maybe he reads the solutions, maybe he even implements them, who knows. But yep, thank you for watching. As always, do like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you soon with a brand new video. Cheers, bye bye.